So you've gone to the trouble and effort of making a will, but you haven't observed certain important rules, and your will is not legally valid. So you've wasted all that time and effort. Now, how do we avoid getting into that situation? Well, there's a few different important aspects that you need to be aware of and you need to observe and follow as part of the whole process of creating your will. The first and most obvious one is proper execution of your will, the whole ritual surrounding signing it, basically. Because if you get that wrong, your will falls at the first hurdle. And it's the most common and most obvious way in which a lot of wills are basically, declared invalid from the off. So you've got to get this one right above everything else. Obviously, it needs to be signed, okay? If it's not signed, then you really don't have snowball's chance in hell of getting the probate service to accept that this is legally valid. It's almost impossible for you to get past that particular hurdle. So signing it, absolutely vital. It also needs to be dated. Okay, so you have to put the date in and you have to put it in properly. So, date, month, year. I see a lot of wills where it's just the year because that was pre-printed and the person that signed it forgot to put in the day and the month and stuff. And that, it's not entirely fatal, but it's a giant headache because you've got to submit that to the probate service after, the lifetime of the person who's made the will. And then the probate service is then going to ask you to provide evidence to show as accurately as possible when this will was made. And that will often involve tracking down the witnesses to your will and, other surrounding evidence to get as close as possible to an estimate of when the date was. And yeah, fingers crossed, it might just squeak through, basically. So to avoid all of that headache and all that extra expense after you've passed away, getting the dates in properly and accurately, very, very important. Now, your will has to be witnessed as well. You need 2 witnesses. Those witnesses need to be over 18. They need to have capacity. They need to be of sound mind. Crucially, they must not be anybody who is mentioned in the will in any way. So if a witness is named as someone who's receiving an inheritance from you in your will, the fact that they are a witness is going to completely cancel their will. If a witness is named as one of your executors, the fact that they have acted as your witness, that takes away their job as executor, so then it falls to your next of kin immediately after them. So again, your wishes are not observed. So not somebody mentioned in your will in any way, really, so avoid those people. Also, the same rules apply with regard to invalidating gifts or invalidating an appointment of an executor apply if a witness is married to someone, legally married, the spouse of someone who is named in the will, either as a beneficiary or as an executor. Now, so you've got your witnesses in place and you're ready to sign. You have to sign your will in front of these 2 witnesses. They have to observe you signing. Alternatively, you can, if you've already signed it, that's not a problem. You can, in front of these 2 witnesses, you can acknowledge your will, your signature. You can say to them, look, see that squiggle there? That's my signature there. That is legally acceptable as the same as you signing it in front of them. Then the focus turns onto your witnesses. They, in turn, must sign while you're watching them, okay? They can't take it away and sign it on a different date, and they must both be together. So they must observe each other witnessing as well. So what you're going to have to properly execute your will is you're going to choose 2 people completely unconnected with your will who are over 18 and maybe a friend or friends, neighbours, colleagues, whatever, and they are going to be with you, and the 3 of you are going to be present throughout this whole process. You're going to sign in front of them. They are going to take it in turns to sign in front of you. They must also add their full name, their address, and their occupation. Those are kind of the rules. Again, if that's forgotten, it's not necessarily fatal, you know, the whole thing about adding their contact details, but the probate service is going to ask for extra evidence after you've passed away. So it's, you know, it's just an extra inconvenience if you don't have that in place. So that is the process, the ritual that you must observe to make sure that this will that you've gone to the trouble of writing and thinking about and preparing is actually legally valid, and that the wishes that you've expressed in that will are legally enforceable after you've passed away.